Welcome back to another week of Podding with PT. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Patrick.
And this week we got a very special guest, my good friend Amanda Benson. How you doing, Amanda?
Good. How are you boys?
Oh, it's a little early now, but we had to make a special time just to meet with you at 6:30 in the morning.
Couldn't
I
wait, as you
I
said.
I texted
Couldn't wait any longer.
I texted Amanda at one point. I was like, "Hey, you trying to do it at like 6:30, like Pacific time?" She was like, "Fuck, that mean I have to wake up at like, would you say 4:30 or
Yeah, I
5:30?"
was going the other way. I was like, oh my God, wait. So
And
4:30, there's
then,
no shot. There's no shot.
but so Amanda and I met, what is it now? 10 years ago?
I don't think we should put a number on it, but
Uh,
it had to be more than 10 years ago because like my 10-year reunion has passed for high
oh,
school.
damn, okay. So this was back in Tucson, Arizona. We were playing at high performance camp.
Mm,
So little background for what that is like you go to a tryout, and wherever you are in the country, then they pick you to be on a certain team, and then it's like a USA development team. So it's
mm,
like they'll have different tiers of who's the highest, then second highest, and then you play other USA teams or like country regional teams, and then you can play like different countries if you get up to like the really good level. But
mhm.
Amanda was on the elite level every time, so
Yeah.
I was a bit lower on that. But go ahead if you want to give just an introduction on yourself.
Yeah, I can do a quick little intro. Hello, my name is Amanda Benson. I'm originally from Arizona. I'm a professional volleyball player. There's a lot that we have to do in this intro, so stay with me. I did my 4 years at the University of Oregon, then went and joined the national team, competed with them through the Tokyo Quad, and then played overseas for 4 years. On top of that, I am also a personal stylist and I am now an author.
Very good book. We just read it this week.
Of
Yeah.
course, her dog just ran down the stairs. Hello.
So what don't you do? Yeah, it sounds like you wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah,
And are you still playing volleyball professionally?
I am. So we now have an American league, which is amazing. So where I can work and still play volleyball instead of having to go overseas. So I played in that last season in Dallas, and hopefully again this year.
Gotcha. So if you could talk a little bit about what it was like in high school for you getting recruited, because you had I feel like a pretty big recruiting stage.
Yeah, recruiting was kind of wild. Especially being a libero, I guess maybe it's a little bit different. But I mean, the first school that I was recruited to, of course, was ASU, and it was like an eighth grade, like classic. And then from there, it was kind of all over the place. I had some offers like to Ohio State, to Penn State, but like, I don't know. I was really wanting to stay like in the pack and stay on that side. And again, like as a libero, playing at a California school is pretty tough, especially if you want a scholarship. Most of those are walk-ons, and I really wanted to be like a full ride starting libero. And funny enough, Oregon was the one school that like I contacted. Like it was really nice to play like on a club team where we played an open every season, and like we had floods of coaches constantly at our courts, but like Oregon was that one school that like I reached out to. And so like right away they came to a tournament, just watched, and I was on campus like 3 weeks later, verbally committed. Like I just knew that that was the school for me. um, and yeah, I have no regrets choosing
Yeah.
Oregon.
So I also, she kind of forgot she was a All American in high school playing. It was like the was it Under Armour All
Yeah,
American
Under
game?
Armour All American. Yeah, West was stacked. I
Yeah,
did
you
it
guys had a
all.
good team.
Yeah, we were stacked.
But I remember just watching, I was like, oh shit, I know who that is.
Yeah.
It was like watching your friend on TV, like, damn, that's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, that was such a time because I knew a lot of the girls that I even played with. So that was just like a nice little reunion.
Yeah.
How did it feel just like playing at that high of a level and getting those accolades as like a high school student? And I feel like
Yeah, it was actually pretty wild. I was just having this conversation because like the high school I went to an all girls Catholic school, and we had a brother school. And honestly, like every time that we had a sporting event, like everyone would go full out for it. And so it was really fun. Like I was in the state finals for my freshman year, and people were chanting like she's a freshman like over and over again, and like chanting like USA because I was on the junior national team. And so like it was really wild. I don't really think I got too caught up in it, but I thought like everybody else thought it was a lot cooler than I thought it was cool, probably.
Yeah, that was dope watching that. And like the nicest thing, at least going back for us, was no matter all that the accolades and stuff,
Mhm.
every time I had a tournament, or in California, somehow Amanda was at the tournament
Yeah.
and was
Yeah.
always like our one fan, our one fan on the sideline.
Yeah, I was always cheering you guys on. But I have two brothers that play. I guess some context for people, but I have two brothers that played volleyball. So like I would always go to their tournaments. So I'd always see all the boys. Like constantly. I was always there. Like
Yep.
you couldn't get rid of me.
That so it was like nationals, and then I think the other time was we were in Anaheim.
Yeah, Anaheim. Good old Anaheim.
So I was like, that's not too far from where we live now, which is pretty funny. I just went to a tournament, I think a couple of weeks ago over in Anaheim.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, I remember playing on that court.
Yeah, good old ASC.
But
I've spent a lot of my life in that gym.
yeah, I feel like those are always the cool tournaments. But then for us, it was cool coming out here because you think like, oh damn, it's California, and you get to play all the California teams.
Right.
And then my last year, if you remember, was really bad. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah. Good old ASC. Good times.
I do also have some questions for you about Oregon. It's like I know you guys got got hooked up every year pretty nicely for equipment. What was that like?
Yeah, Nike Christmas. It is something different than anybody ever would experience. It's really fun. I mean, it's nice to be spoiled at the University of Nike.
Yeah.
By Uncle Phil, and it's cool. I mean, it's everyone kind of gets that. You get some type of like Christmas for your gear, but yeah, when you go to Oregon, it's a little bit different. Really cool shoes, just really cool stuff. But that alone isn't the experience. So I always get asked about gear, and it's like at this point I've given away so much of it and just like donated it or like sold it on like Players Trunk. It's like, yeah, too much. It was almost like way too much stuff. Like I don't need 80 Nike Dry Fit t-shirts.
Hey, if you have any extra still, you can pass them over here.
Yeah, I'll send you guys some. No, for real.
Backpack.
Yeah, I'm like tired of moving it around with me everywhere that I go.
Did that spark your shoe collection back there, or was that beforehand?
I think I was a little bit of a sneakerhead before I got to Oregon, but then when I got to Oregon, it was just game over. Yeah.
But how was like the experience of being at Oregon, just as a student athlete?
Amazing. It's a really small town. It's like, we have so much fan support, especially on the women's side, which I also think is just so important. But amazing. It's a little bit cliquey at the University of Oregon. It's kind of like if you're an athlete, you're an athlete. And then if like you're in the frats and sororities, like you kind of hang out together. And then like you don't really mesh too much. But I mean, as an American, it was amazing.
So what made you choose Oregon over, because you talk about like the fan support on the women's side. So like I know like Penn State and Nebraska all have like that massive like fan base for their women's team.
Yeah.
What made you choose Oregon?
I think it was just a combination of like the girls, the coaches, like the campus. Like obviously they have like A1 facilities. I could feel like the support even as a high schooler, just like could feel what Oregon could offer me. And I think that's really hard as a high schooler. Our dog. I think that's really hard as a high schooler to like kind of understand everything that you want in a university and like what you're going to get out of your education, like exactly what you want to study. And I knew going in that I wanted to study psychology, but it was just like I could feel all of those pieces even as a high schooler, So I think I was just sold. I don't know what it was, like a gut feeling, but I was just sold.
It just felt right.
Yeah.
Because I just know, like, my experience being a high school athlete, and
Yeah.
I had some offers. I was like, you know what? I'd rather not play football and then
Yeah.
just go to the University of Arkansas and be a student. And,
Yeah.
and just like, because it just felt right. Like, I just wanted to be in this environment and be in the environment of like, because it's like one of those things. Like, if you're from Arkansas, it's like University of Arkansas. Like, that's your pro team. That's like, that's everything. So I was like,
it's everything.
I just wanted to be a part of that culture, that just like that town, that school.
And you just felt it.
Yeah, right. So just like, I was just so happy, just like walking around campus.
Yeah.
It was one of those like, yo, I'm here. I know for me, like the first couple of weeks, I was like, did I make the right decision? It was such a shock for me going to somewhere different, like 5-6 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
So like those feelings, it's like, all right, I'm so far away from my family. Did I make the right decision?
Yeah.
So it was like, part of me is like, maybe I could have stayed a little closer, but like, after like a month of just like going to classes and like getting into the group, I was like, I'm here. Like, I'm really here now.
I made the right choice. Yeah.
I feel like we all have.
Tyler, what about you? You think you made the right choice?
Oh yeah, definitely. I didn't even want to go to Sacred Heart. My mom she was like, let's just go check out. I think it was like the open house at first. So I was like, I had heard of the school, didn't even know where it was, and it was an hour and a half away. So I was like, yeah, something about like when I just went to like the open house, I was like, damn, this place is pretty cool. And then lucky enough, just like worked out with PT school, and then the fact that Pat came from Arkansas to Sacred Heart for grad school, I was like, yeah, told me I probably made the right decision if there was something that random happened. And something then
universe.
I'll say universe be universe. And then I had that same thing when I moved here. I was like, shit, did I make the right decision? I was like, I just moved this far. I don't know anyone. But that initial feeling, I feel like that's just anytime we make a big decision, it's like, damn, is this the right one?
Yeah,
I always do that.
So Tyler like hit me up. He had a clinical rotation in Irvine.
Yeah.
And he was like, yo, this place is amazing. But I need a roommate to live here. And I was like,
it's amazing, but it's expensive.
Yeah, but it's expensive as hell.
I am there. So it's like, even my first time being in California is when I moved here.
Wow.
So just like, all right, something about this just, I like it. I was like, I trust you, Tyler, and like, let's just send it. And like, I have no regrets because everything just felt like it's falling in place. So it's like, it's weird just having that feeling when something just feels right and you can just like follow that. And like part of you wants to fight it, but it's like, but like going through, like there's like no regrets, no look back. It's like, dang, everything happened for a reason.
Totally. And you got to take that risk.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I was seeing something as like nothing in life is consistent except the fact that there's always change. I was like, damn, it makes me so uncomfortable. But I was like, if you got to just be like good with change.
Yeah, you have to be adaptable. You have to take some risks sometimes. You have to be uncomfortable. Yeah.
Comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah. So I actually want to transition into the next point. So then what's it like playing overseas? Or what was the process of playing professional volleyball? Like teams looking at you, how did that go? Or what was that like?
Yeah, it's a different like recruiting process. So, like, it's not like that at all. It's not like, they watch you closely and like see all of your games and like are talking to you like through the season. Like, yeah, we're really interested. That would make it a lot easier and they should try that. But it's really like, once you decide to turn pro, like once I signed to an agency, it was kind of like you sit and you wait for an offers. And like, once you get them, you look over the contract. Maybe you do a like Google search of the city, where it is, like what's going on in there, like what's around. And you like sign a piece of paper and it's like your shift off and like you don't know what you're getting into. It's just like maybe you talk on the phone to the coach one time, but it's like that's it. Like it is really like blindly going into it and like fully embracing it. It's like very uncomfortable and very scary, but also like very rewarding and fun. But yeah, it's a whole other beast than say like getting recruited to college, right?
Yeah. So where did you go first? Like, where was your first contract?
I went to France.
Okay. So you got a pretty solid first one, I feel like.
Yeah, I was in a solid league for my first year. It was competitive. I was on a team that was like kind of middle lower. Like we didn't make playoffs, but we were pretty good. Like we still fought with all the top teams. Like we were competitive. So it was fun. Like I think that was a good spot for me to land. Especially in my first season, to where I was challenged, but I also had to like kind of prove myself overseas. But I had great teammates. I was the only American. We had 8 foreigners, but my coach spoke 8 languages. So it was really impressive. Yeah. Like I've never met somebody that can speak 8 languages.
8 languages.
Pretty wild. Yeah. And so like practice was all in French because we had some young French girls, and it was easier for them to like speak French and for the non-French speakers to like figure it out. Like it was just easier. So all I did was like listen to French and practice and like I'm like, I'll be in the back of the line and then I'll just like figure it out.
Damn, how good is your French now?
I've lost a lot of it, but like I can still say some things and like kind of understand, but I wish I would have taken French in high school. Like I didn't Spanish, sorry, but like I could have actually used that.
Yeah. I was gonna say something in French, but I was like, let me not embarrass myself.
I know. I'm like,
so then, because I've heard, I've had some friends that have gone to like, I can't even remember what countries, but I was like, I don't know if I'd ever, like Finland was one of them.
Yeah.
One of my friends went to Finland. He's like, I didn't see the sun for months.
Yeah. The Finnish people, they're great people, but I wouldn't go play in the country for 9-10 months.
It's like you can be in a completely like different European country that like Americans usually don't go to. Those like don't know anyone there. So like, what was your first year like? Were the people pretty accepting?
Yeah, the French, I mean, Americans, nobody really likes Americans, so it's a little bit tough. Like, luckily, I maybe don't look like your typical American. Everyone thought I was like Italian, so or they would just start speaking French to me right away. Like, I guess I don't give off the like I'm on here for vacation look, but like, I mean, if you try to speak French, they will help you. It is kind of when you're like a little bit like ignorant and like you have a little bit of an ego being American where, you know, they just don't like that. So I always try to speak the language, even if I sound like an idiot, like I just still try and like hoping that they'll help me out. Like the people were fine, but nobody really spoke English there, like for real. Like I was in a really small town and Paris was like 4 hours away. So we were up in the north. But yeah, I think people were fine. I mean, you really just like in practice all the time. You don't really have so much free time to like go out and about. But there were definitely times where I was like stressed in the supermarket. Stressed out.
How long did you play in France? Or just like more so my question is just like how long did it take you to feel like settled in and like feel comfortable like just being there?
Probably like halfway through. It was probably like Christmas. Like I kind of felt comfortable. Like I kind of was like, okay, I know what's going on. Like I know how to get around. Like probably like 5 months in.
Yeah. And then, like, then playing, like you're like, all right, when did you like or were you
playing was cool. Like playing was fine. I think again, you just have to be super adaptable because you're gonna get coaches that like want you to do certain things. And like these are new people that I'm passing next to and like trying to figure out like you just have to be like, okay, my teammate really doesn't speak English that much and it's more comfortable for her to like speak her language and call out numbers, like our opposite, call out numbers. So like I'm just gonna adapt to her and like learn 2 numbers that she says in her language and like be able to work off that, you know, like you just have to really like bend and adapt. all the time. And like my freshman or my freshman year, my first year in France, my coach wanted me to do this thing where like our outside just ran off the court when they served at her, like just ran away. And so like that was something like I've never had to do before. Just like stand there and then like know that there's a huge gap and like pass the ball. Like that was really weird. So you just have to like have a bunch of stuff thrown at you and like you either like do it and are good at it, or you just like revert to your old ways and be like, yeah, no, it's not gonna work for me.
Damn.
Yeah.
Metaphor for life. But
yeah.
So what is it like? Was being like a professional athlete everything you thought it was going to be, or more or less? What was your kind of take on that?
Being a professional athlete, I think it sounds pretty, you know, but I don't think you like fully understand like all of the hard work it takes. I think I knew that. Like, of course, I'm going to have to go work hard. You know, it's sports still. You're going to win, you're going to lose, you work hard, you whatever, overcome challenges. But I think just like the system in general is so different. We're way too spoiled here for sure. Like in college, you're just way too spoiled. So of course, when you think like professional, you think it's going to be more professional than you would think in college, right? But it's really not. I mean, like I keep saying freshman year. My first year in France, it was like I had a hard time seeing like the physio or the doctor, you know, like I had a little injury and like it's hard for me to like get that checked out. Like, why is that so hard? You know, we're playing on like a really bad floor that hasn't been done in ages. And it's like you get some splinters sometimes diving. Like,
oh shit,
it's just different. Like, and it depends where you go, because the second season I did was in Germany and I played at like a top 3 club, and like they're really on their shit. I don't know if I can cuss. Like they're really on their shit, and like, you know, they're pretty wealthy. But it was the other side of that, of like the like mental side, that was really hard. Like we had a really hard coach and he could just say whatever he wanted to say to whoever, regardless of us being females. There were words thrown out. It's like, yeah, I don't get paid enough for this. Like, I just don't. Like, I don't get paid enough for you to talk to people like that. Like, honestly. So yeah, it's just like professional sounds cute, but like once you get over there, it really is kind of like a culture shock. It's really kind of like you have those moments, those uncomfortable moments of like, did I make the right decision? Like, did I really want to do this? And like for me, I did, but yeah, it's just different.
Yeah, I feel like just being a professional in and of itself is a lot. Yeah. And then put it in a different country that you've never been in. There's like different cultures, all that different type of stuff. Like you said, people talking to you crazy that probably wouldn't get away with that here.
No shot.
So I know, like I've talked to a lot of my friends and they were like, did either just 1 year or absolutely hated one of the years that they did. So there never really was like, I got the team and like this was my dream, this was everything I wanted. It was always like, yeah, one of those contracts sucked.
Yeah, one of those years was awful and made you want to quit playing volleyball, for sure.
So when did they transition, or when did you transition back to here then and playing more professionally here?
Yeah, I did. After that German season, I did 2 seasons in Switzerland, which that was like the club where I was like, this is awesome, this is great, we're winning, like everything is good in my life. Like I'm happy here. Like that was the first time that I could really say that. Like my coach is awesome. The president's cool. Like, so I did 2 seasons there and then I came back. And I was deciding on what I wanted to do, if I wanted to go back overseas. That was then the first year of AU, was my last season in Switzerland. So I was thinking, oh, do I go back overseas? I was so happy at this club. So how do I, like, I don't want to go back to where I was, right? In like some random country where like it might be awful. Like I was just so happy with volleyball. I really don't want to revert back. Or I can stay in the States, I can work, right? And then I can just go for the 7 weeks, like 7 weeks, 10 months. Like that's an easy decision for me. especially while working a business. I luckily got signed to them. I think it was probably November. So I got signed to them in November, and I was like ecstatic. Like I couldn't wait to play with them. But it was kind of a long wait. But that's kind of how I just figured out, am I going to do that again overseas, or am I going to stay here?
What was the competition level like here compared to when you played overseas?
I mean, it's high. We had it's good competition. We had Olympians, we had girls I knew from national team. Like you have a lot of experienced girls who have played overseas a lot of years. Even some girls that were like killers in college that went out of retirement to come back and play and like picked it up like it was nothing. Like they stopped yesterday. The competition was good. Like it's really a competitive league. I think that they've done a really good job with it.
Nice. Do you think they're going to keep pushing it? Because I hope that there's something like that, and there's not that overseas option.
Yeah, I think they're going to keep pushing it. I mean, there are some rumors. I don't know how much like news is out about it, but I know that they're thinking to start another league. I think it's called One Love, maybe, or something like that, and to where it would be almost similar to like a WNBA season. You know, you have like 8 teams, and you fly around and do all of that. Yeah, so a little bit different, but I don't really know what they're going to do with AU, if they're going to like extend it, because there are so many good things about AU that makes it different, right? Like some other people want it to like reflect like overseas, and it's like not everyone can like play a full 10-month season. Like some of these girls work too. Like they leave their 9 to 5s and they come play for 7 weeks because it's 7 weeks. Like they don't have to make that huge sacrifice away from families, husbands, wives, kids, dogs, you know, like they can do the 7 weeks. It's manageable. Like if they wanted to do a 10-month season, then they would go overseas and do it. But yeah, it would be nice to have that long option here as well. And I think we'll get there. I think it's just like a slow burn.
Slow process. I definitely envy those girls that picked it up like it was nothing. Because I was talking to my sister yesterday. I started coaching volleyball again, and I went to go show someone. First off, I don't think my feet have left the ground in like 3 years. So I went to go do like a jump set. I was like, shit, that was a lot harder than I remember.
Yeah. No, for real. That's like me with serving. Like I don't serve anymore. Okay. And so I went back to my like Oregon reunion game, and I was like top spinning balls. Like it was like yesterday that I was serving.
Oh, nice.
It got into me, and I was sore for 2 weeks. Sore. Like all of my arm muscles and my shoulders. I'm like, geez, I have not served a ball in.
I was like, your body was like, ooh, what's this?
Everything else worked. Like everything else worked, but they're like, yeah, you have to serve. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to serve, I'm going to go full out and like face you guys. So that's
I haven't even attempted. No, I was like, I don't even want to see what that jump serve looks like yet.
But I felt it. I'm still feeling it. Still feel it in my back.
That feeling of not doing anything, like for me, like I took like a year off and then went to play another year of college football. And it was like my instinct. So it was just like, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? So it's like a step behind. So I was like, anybody that could just pick it up, I'm just like,
exactly. Oh my God.
I was like being able to process like what's going on in that moment. I was like just a little hesitant step. I was just like, why am I doing this? Like, just go, like just
moving in slow motion.
Yeah, I was just like, why am I doing? Like I'm thinking too much. I was like, so people that turn it on and just like get back to it. I was like,
good for you.
Like, wow. Like, that's a skill in and of itself, just to go.
Yeah, for real.
I had been peppering with a kid this week twice. He caught me like in the chest or neck on the slowest hit, but my reaction time is so messed up now that I'm like, damn, I couldn't even like see it coming. I was like, this is embarrassing. So
you wore it.
Yep. I was like, damn, that was bad. But I need to get my reaction time and my vertical back. That was a struggle.
I do want to pivot and ask you about your stylist, being a stylist, and so is that your primary job?
Yeah, I work every day, 7 days a week. So I do personal styling, but I also have like a little kind of like Instagram boutique where I flip pre-loved and vintage garments, and that, like, in a nutshell. So a lot of thrifting, like I thrift almost every day, every other day for hours, and it's exhausting. If you've ever thrifted, you would know, like, it's exhausting. So I do both of those, and I do curated boxes now, which is also like sustainable, and it's all thrifted and pre-loved stuff. So I kind of meshed it, like styling with like the, you know, selling vintage clothes, and like put it into one box. So there's a little bit of overlap there. And then of course, like actually writing like takes up the least amount of time. Like that's more of a, I need to relax my mind and I'm gonna like sit down and write. But otherwise it's pretty chaotic. It's like just clothes everywhere. Like
that's a pretty wild relaxation method to write a book.
yeah, I know.
Do you use like your psychology degree at all for like styling your clothes?
Yeah, I think there's psychology in everything. I think when I started my styling business was to help people and just to make them feel more confident. So of course there's like a psychology in that. And clothes are clothes. Like I don't style based off of a trend. I style based off like your own personal aesthetic and your comfort and your lifestyle. Like, you know, if you're on your feet all day, like I'm not going to put you in an uncomfortable shoe. I'm going to like adapt to your lifestyle and like help you find a style and clothing that makes you happy. It makes you like, it uplifts you. It makes you more confident. That was my whole goal, you know, not to be like, oh, I want to play with clothes and like play dress up with people. Like, no, I want to like help people make more, like feel more confident. I want them to feel like how I feel when I get dressed, and that's confident. So that's kind of why I started that.
Oh, nice.
I need you style man. I need to holla at you.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Tyler will give you my number, and you have my email.
Yeah.
Word. Yeah. It's like I gotta be like AB and you know put that shit on. You know,
yeah.
I just like that feeling. You step out the door and just put that shit on.
Music starts playing in the background somewhere.
Hey, look, you just step in the room and you just know you got it.
You know you got it. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly.
Do you prefer have any like, do you connect more with styling for men, styling for women? Is there any difference in like the energy that you get with that one?
No, I think I'm a good mix. I definitely have more women that I style, but I do have some men. And I think like, I mean, even growing up with my two brothers, like I was constantly wearing men's clothes. I still buy men's clothes. I think my closet is primarily men's clothes. And so I just like, I have a brand knowledge that's on both ends, and I'm just able to kind of like mesh those, or, you know, lean on one side of the spectrum towards the other, or meet somewhere in the middle. I think my own personal style is like a nice blend of like masculine and feminine. And so, no, I really like working with men though.
No, okay.
I need more on my list.
I once I fill out the form, I got you.
Yeah.
I completely forgot. That's on me.
So
but
I was gonna ask you like, how do you connect? Like, how do you like get a sense of like what someone wants? How like what do they need or want?
Yeah, I have like a whole form that they fill out that asks a couple of questions, but normally I like go take a look at their Instagram, and like I'm a very visual person, so like I can kind of see what you're posting. Like obviously you post a picture because you think you look good in it, or like you felt good, or it was a happy memory. So I can kind of get a good reflection from like social media, but also just talking. Like I really pride myself on like the customer service side, because I really truly want you as a client to feel confident and be happy with what you get. And so it's just super straightforward about, okay, what do you want? Is it more business clothes? Like you want pants, you want shorts, and I'm going to give you that. So I think it's just really upfront and honest about like what you're looking for, just from the jump. And I think that's kind of different than say like a Stitch Fix is. I've had some clients that have done Stitch Fix in the past, and they just were unhappy with what they were receiving. It was kind of the same things over and over and over again. And so just like dealing with the client on a more personable basis, I think can really just like help you like find what you're actually looking for.
Yeah, and like so my first thought is like, I don't know what I would say I feel look good in, or I want to mix it up. So it's just like, I'm sure it takes a lot of trial and error. Like, hey, what about this? Or what about this type of style? And so just trying to figure that out. So it's like, do you have that kind of leeway? Do you have to, I guess, like buy the clothes, try it on, see what it's like? What is that like if someone just like trying to figure out their style, their personal?
Yeah, especially like if they buy something from me from Source by AV and it doesn't work, then they ship it back and I give them something that does work. A lot of times when doing virtual styling, it is really difficult because it's online shopping, right? Like not everything's going to fit you the same. Like, of course, there's an issue with how models look on websites, and like that's not every single body, right? So just like making sure that we have our measurements and just constantly like working to find the right silhouettes for people, just knowing their body and knowing like what looks good on that silhouette, and like color schemes and all those different things like play into it. I take my time. I think that's different. Like I definitely take my time and like really think about the silhouette. I really think about the colors. I don't like overuse styles, like reuse them. Like it is always, you're my main focus, and like I'm gonna put everything into like giving you the styles that you want. And if you don't like something, that's okay. We're gonna change it until you're happy with what you have.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot. Even just dealing with people in general. Now you got to deal with people that you don't see, things that may work, things that don't work.
Yeah,
like trial and error. At least for us, it's a little bit easier. It was like with our work is like it's pretty easy because I get a direct result right then and there. But like for you, I feel like that's got to be a lot of just like taxing.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for sure. But I think if like personally, if I take more time to like not rush things and like really hear them, really hear the client and really like listen and don't approach it like, oh no, like I know this is good for you. If the person doesn't like it, they don't like it, right? Like, yeah, I don't like that pattern. Okay, well, we can change it. Like it's not about like, no, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to wear.
Yeah.
It's just like really working with that person and listening and understanding. And that only makes me a better stylist, right? So I only learn from those like tough times where it's never a tough client. It's just, I'm a little bit more picky, or I have some type of like almost clothing trauma with something similar to that, or that color. Like there is really a psychology in all of it. And it's just like finding the right style for people like over and over and over again. So it's just like that same process. And yeah, it is exhausting, but I wouldn't change it.
Yeah. And I'm sure you had like, by taking your time, it helps build that rapport. Because I'm thinking like, sometimes if you were to give me something and I don't love it, I'm not I like it, but I have to have that, the rapport needs to be in place, or that relationship to be, I like it, but this is not what I'm looking for. And that can be tough sometimes, especially like working from the consumer side. It's like there's also a side of like you're doing a good job, but like this is it. And just being able to report that. So I'm sure like your customers like really appreciate that you take your time and kind of build that space for honesty to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I hope they do.
So you also talk about, because I kind of want to transition to a really, really big accomplishment for you, is like you said that you write a lot. And then your book Roots that just released, I thought was really, really well written. Honestly,
thank you.
Patrick gave the review that it was simple, but it got like your point across very well. So yeah, if you could talk a little bit about the book, what it's about, as much as you want to share.
Yeah, I can. So Roots, let's talk about Roots. I worked on Roots for 7 years, and that is a big chunk of time. Partially because my toxic trait is that I'm a person, like I'm just such a perfectionist to where like I was so terrified to like put it out there and there'd be like a spelling error or like a comma out of place. Like I just kept being like, it's not ready, it's not ready, it's not ready. Um, but yeah, roots started in Oregon actually. I was in a very, very toxic, abusive relationship for just over 2 years. And I felt like when you're in something like that, people know how to manipulate you. They know how to control you and get you away from people who really love you and that are trying to help. So that was kind of what I experienced. And so I was in this really hard time, but unable to like really talk about it or felt safe talking about it. I went to therapy with my abuser, and that didn't really help either. It just like, as you read, like that really turned me off from therapy kind of, and it felt more like it was my issue, and like I had to help him be less aggressive, which didn't really sit right with me. So I remember vividly like sitting on an airplane, and we were actually coming back to Arizona to play the Arizona schools, and it was one of my last times to come. And I just pulled out my phone and started writing on like my Pages app, just like what was going on in my head. And I would do that like ever so often, like just keep revisiting this page and like write something, and I would close it. Like I wouldn't even reread it. I would just like write it and close my phone, like not even look at it. And it got to a point where after I walked away from that relationship for the last time, like I really said, this is it. Like I kind of revisited that and was like, this like weirdly is a little bit poetic, and like I don't know what's going on here. I really didn't think I'm going to turn this into a book. I really didn't. It was mostly for myself, just to like get my thoughts out and somewhere. Um, and it really wasn't until like I got overseas where I was, that was kind of my hobby in between practices, was like sitting down and writing. I would journal about my day. And I just had the thought of like, you know what, like, what if I turn this into a book? Like, I don't know, kind of a wild thought at the time. Like, what if I made this into a book, and, it could help people. It could have people relate in some form. And from there, like the way I wrote it was really interesting, because part two, I wrote first. Part one, I wrote second, and part third, I finished with. And that was really interesting to like try and put myself back in time and like have to write about somebody that's been like out of my life for so long. But that is still somewhere in my heart. But yeah, it was just kind of a whole process of like, this is pretty much just like words on an app to like having a physical book. Like it feels really weird.
Yeah, that was an awesome accomplishment. I know, especially something like trauma related, like having to put yourself living through that, like again, for I don't know how many times that it happened. So I imagine that probably in and of itself was a challenge, as let
Yeah.
alone writing a book. So
Mhm.
what was kind of like your process of healing, I guess, for after repeating or reliving that?
Yeah. I think there was a lot of healing in that, and just revisiting and like seeing it over and over again of like, wow, like I really went through that. Like I can't even believe like who I was at that time. Like looking back, it's like that wasn't even me. Like, so I think there was just a lot of healing in writing the book in general. I think you get a lot of healing like doing those types of practices of journaling and writing and just, getting your thoughts out. But yeah, like having to actually like revise it and like revisit things constantly was a little bit traumatic, and just like sometimes I had to take a step back. I definitely like could not like read through a whole thing. Just take a step back and be like, okay, that's like who you were. It's not who you are now. Like, um, just appreciate the time, honestly.
Mhm.
Like I'm kind of thankful for going through that. Just because I wouldn't even have roots, if I didn't go through such a hard time. And I think like, you're never handed too hard of a challenge that's for you. Like if it's given to you, like you can handle it. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. I'm happy that it's just out and like I'm not looking at it on a computer anymore. Yeah, it's really cool.
So then for you, I guess writing the book also, at what point were you I don't know how to phrase it really, but like kind of got over the thought of like I'm putting my personal business out there
Yeah.
and thinking like, oh, this can help somebody else. Like at what point was there like a defining moment for you where you're like, I don't care what people think about this, more so like I want to get my story out there?
Yeah, I think it was more that. I think I just was like, it's ready. Like I had ordered 3 samples at this point, and it was kind of a feeling again, like this feeling of I think it's ready. Like I'm gonna actually hit the button. Like I'm actually gonna put it out. And so I did, and I just let it go, which is very scary. That is so
Yeah.
scary. I think like I talk about this all the time, but like any type of like artist or creative or writers, it's like when you put your art and your craft out there, that is the scariest thing in the world.
Yeah. Pat talks about because he's huge into music and music videos. He's like, I want to understand like what you're trying to tell me. And sometimes I just listen to it just because like, oh, it makes me feel good. But it's a crazy concept thinking of I'm trying to take what's in my head and how I feel about it and give it to you. And hopefully you connect with it on a similar level.
Right.
Like, and I have no control over how you feel over that.
Hmm.
Right. And it's just like, all right, take it how you is, like how it is. And
Yeah.
but I really enjoyed like reading your book. Like I picked it up and I like just read through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think
Blaze through it.
right. And I was like, I definitely have to go back because I was like, I want to spend more time. Like
Hmm.
each part is so different.
Yeah.
You could just feel like the different energies between the parts and just like um especially like the last part really just like it's like a nice ending, just like made me feel good. And it's like, but
Yeah.
also being able to follow you through like, well, I think first part was like high school, then going
Yeah.
later parts in your life. I was like, while just like revisiting my past relationships, like being able to
Uh-huh.
connect to like you're so I think you did a really great job of just like creating that feeling.
Thank
Especially
you.
for me, it's just like and then ending it on such like a high note, just like, take your time. Like
Yeah.
I think you made a cool one of the things is like even a pine tree only allows
Yeah.
to grow
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
6
1 or 2
years.
I'm just
Yeah.
like take your fucking time. Like, you're gonna be okay. Like,
You don't have to. You really don't have to rush
Right.
it.
like
Yeah.
you don't have to be okay in this moment. It's like as long
Yeah.
as you're working towards that. And I was like, I appreciated
Mm.
that and just like listening or just reading it. I was like, wow, like I was like, damn,
Yeah.
Shit, punching me.
And like,
I give you all the feels. I love that.
right. Even now, I'm just like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
I just like feel it. And then so I was like, wow. So it's like in it while reading it, I can really tell like you spent a lot of time and like, and you probably put you in a tough place, like just
Yeah.
even putting that onto page. And I was like, thank you for sharing that, just having like that confidence, like, all right, someone else can learn from this, or like,
Yeah.
all right, you're not alone as well.
Yeah. Just for everyone to relate to some part of it,
Yeah, I think the other thing that's really, really sad on the other aspect is like how many people can relate to it. Whereas like it's not like a rare occasion, and
Yeah, it's not.
no, and I was like I've known a lot of people that have told me like pretty much not exactly the same, but like the same kind of tale. Whereas like you get
Yeah.
in that like whirlwind of like you're caught up in the emotions, like it's something new, it's something seems so great, and then like slowly it gets to turn to the other side of it. I'm reading Body Keeps a Score now, and they
Okay.
talk about the trauma of how I think it was dogs that they had in a cage, and like one group they didn't shock, and then the
Mhm.
other group they just shocked randomly. And then when they finally let them out of the cage, the ones that didn't get shocked ran away, but the ones
Yeah.
that did get shocked, because they were so used to the trauma and more help and felt like helpless, they just
Yeah.
didn't leave. So it was like I kind of saw similar things in a lot of my friends that kind of get stuck in that loop where something becomes very traumatic, but because it's like this is more comfortable, or maybe they might change, that
Mhm.
I'll stay and see if I can help them change. So if you have any advice, I think kind of for anybody else that's kind of going through that now.
Yeah, I think there's so many wonderful resources out there, and I was scared in the time to like reach out to anyone or to talk about it. That is like the biggest trouble is like speaking up and like going to get help. But I think you just go. Like you don't wait any longer. Like if I could go back in time, I would have just asked for help sooner instead of the way it came about was like I was kind of cornered. It's kind
Mm.
of like had my back up to the wall and was kind of forced to like be honest about what was going on. And instead, I wish I would have just said, this is going on. I need help. I need help to get out. Like trusting that people are going to actually help you and not like, I don't know, like just leave you there on an island. I don't think, there's enough people that care about you to help you out, and you don't have to stay in that relationship. It's not for you. You deserve better. Yeah. And there really is so many resources out there to help. Yeah.
There's a lot on Pat reads a lot on trauma some of the times, and it's just like seeing even that it's a very similar pattern, kind of then going into those attachment styles of like I'll give you just enough just to realize like, oh, it's still there, to leave you like
Yeah.
hoping that there might be more.
Right. Yeah. You hold on because you think that people will change,
Mm.
you say all the right things. That's why I stayed, because I thought things would get better because I saw enough little glimpses of hope to where I said, oh, that can be all the time. But in reality, it's not.
Mm.
It wasn't reality. In
Yeah.
reality, it's like I needed to get out of that and to be better for myself. And I knew that I knew my worth, and I knew that I deserved a lot better than that.
Yeah. Also, with what Pat said and kind of what you just talked about was that's why I personally really liked the third part of the book a
Mhm.
lot, because it was a lot of that positivity and just knowing your worth, which I feel like we can get easily wrapped up in,
Mhm.
of just like even my own thoughts of like, am I good enough to be in whatever situation it is? And it was like
Right.
just knowing that, or just rereading that and hearing it from like after what the experience you had, I was like, oh yeah, it's like a nice refresher.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think that ability to like give yourself that love, like you're trying to, I know for me, just like in previous relationships, trying to pour so much into the other person and pour so
Yeah.
much into the relationship. I was like, this, like the love that I give can like see this through, but also you have to
Yeah.
remember to give that love to yourself.
Exactly.
Like if
Yeah.
we were on the outside party, like what would you say to yourself? Like what advice
Mhm.
would you give to yourself? And being able to recognize that and then like follow through is just so
Yeah.
important. And like to get lost, it's like yeah, everybody else need love, like, but you
Yeah.
need to also put that into yourself.
Into yourself. Yeah. I had to learn that for sure, because I give, 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 and I don't like give to myself enough. So
Mm.
that's something that I definitely learned about myself
Yeah.
after
Look,
I was ready.
I'm
Um,
still learning. I'm like, all right, cool.
yeah.
Let me make my boundaries. Like, yeah, I can't do that for you. I was like, I really want to, but
Yeah.
can't do that for you.
Hmm.
What are some ways that you've now been loving yourself?
I treat myself more. I don't like have like a shame or guilt,
Mm.
of like going out and going to a fancy dinner, or buying a pair of shoes. Like I used to have a lot of shame in that, like doing things for myself, because
Mm.
I don't know what it is. It's just like I don't know if it's like imposter syndrome, but it's like, no, like this isn't my life. Like I don't deserve to be living like this or something. I don't know what it is, but I just sometimes feel a lot of shame and guilt. Um, how else do I treat myself? I have to get better because I work a lot all the time, is learning to take breaks, learning to like find some me time, whether that's like going and booking myself a massage, or like just having like an at-home spa day, just like stepping away from the work, because I definitely overwork myself, and just saying like it's okay that you don't put stuff up today. It's okay that you're not like on Instagram and like social and blah blah blah. Like, it's okay to have a few days to yourself. I think that's something I've gotten a lot better at, but also can still work on.
Mhm.
Yeah. A book that I just read was Body Kindness by Rebecca Scritchfield. Have you ever heard of that one?
I've heard.
Yeah, and it's a really cool idea, just like that level of mindfulness. So she really starts off the book as like anti-diet culture.
Yeah.
So being able to um, not look at the calories, do not look at like scale, like eat what you want to eat,
Yeah.
do what you want to do, but
Right.
do it in a sense that because it makes you feel good.
Right.
And so it's like, all right, if you're working, like it's so easy to get like in a downward spiral. It's like, oh, I'm not eating good, and I feel like that, and then you feel that shame, so you want to continue to eat bad because
exactly.
And so it's like, all right, let's not even think about diet. Let's not.
Yeah.
All right, you do things because it makes you feel better. Like I'm gonna eat this salad not because I want to lose weight, because
right.
I know this salad just makes me feel a little better.
Right.
Let me go work out because it makes me feel better, not because like I need it to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And I think like that mindfulness, like, all right, like you mentioned, like taking those days to get a massage, like, yo,
Yeah.
I'm beat up. Let me do something for myself. Let me recharge myself. And so it's just like that book's just like it was really cool just to hear. It's like I think it's things that you know, like and
Yeah.
but it like gives you that
that push. Yeah.
to do that for yourself. It's like okay, maybe this is a good thing.
I'm gonna add that to my list.
And it was just like helpful for me, just like taking a step back with like everything. It was just like sleep, like yo, go get some sleep. Like you don't need to be
drink some water.
Eat some fruit. You know what I'm saying? Like
have an apple.
Yeah, it is okay. It's like nothing in this world. Like you don't have to be anything. It's just like be aware of who you are.
Like you are enough.
Yeah, exactly. And then just like give yourself that love. Like, all right, if you need to like do things for yourself, like if you don't feel like working out for an hour, go work out. Go for a walk.
Go for a walk.
Whatever you need to do, meet yourself in that place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like having good self-talk is really important. That's like something I've talked to a lot of volleyball players like going overseas is like just self-talk, like having a better positive self-talk and like, you know, being self-aware of when you like start hearing like the bad dark voices of like, I don't want to do that. I don't like how I look and yada yada. Just being aware and being like, okay, like I know that I'm feeling like this, but it's just thoughts. It's not like who I am, you know? And yeah, I think that's a big part of it all.
Yeah.
Like all of that, you know, self-love, self-care.
Yeah, look, we don't do no self-deprecating over here. Positive, yeah, exactly. Look,
good vibes only.
Good vibes.
Pat, you said a good point. Or the word that I caught on to was permission. It was like you gave yourself permission. And I was like, I think every time I read something that's positive, it just gives me that permission. I'm like, why do I need to give myself permission to feel good? It was like, why is the instant to be like, what's the most negative thing that can happen? Or what if this happens? And why not like just automatically give myself that positive emotion?
Yeah. I hate that phrase of just think the worst, you know, like just think the worst of what's going to happen. I'm like, why do that?
Why not?
Head there. Like, why would I do that?
Another
that's a solid word there.
One of the books I just read was She Comes First, which kind of reminded me of, I thought it was pretty good for both men and women to read, but it's a guy who writes it, who helps women in their own like body, I forgot his name, but like their own body positivity and mental self-talk. So it's written from a guy's perspective, or written from a guy of a woman's perspective, and how she should go through the world and be more positive, and like different tips and how to do that, and how to like command the room and get the respect that you deserve. But it's simple things that just like when you look at someone and say you want them to know who you are, you want them to attract or to be more attracted to you. It was like having that confidence about yourself. So I don't remember who it was, but it was someone who was like Marilyn Monroe or someone was walking in New York City and didn't try to notice anyone. And I think she like had head down, didn't have like a smile on her face. and no one recognized her. But then the minute that she like perked up and was like really confident, it was like then everyone like stopped her, asked her for pictures. And that one really resonated with me. It was like even just people recognizing you or understanding your aura if you have more of a positive self-talk, as opposed to like, what's the worst that can happen?
Mm-hmm. No, totally. It's all about confidence.
Yeah.
So,
And like people are attracted to it because it's like you want to be around people that inspires. So if like someone is happy and like you want to be happy, you're probably gonna gravitate towards them, and it's like, all right, they're giving out this feeling, this energy that you just want to be around.
Yeah.
It's like just reminding yourself, like it's a, you know what I mean, like let me be happy or try to be. I know life be lifing. But
that life be lifing.
It really do. But and being able to come back, be present, and just show gratitude for the things that you have today is like a good step. Just all right, I know shit's hitting the fan, but hold on, let me think of some positive things today. Or like it's so easy to go down that
so easy
spiral. All right, let me look at both sides. Let me look at, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so easy to do that.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for joining us. Do you have, let's say, anything that people can reach you on Instagram, talk about your personal and business?
Oodles and oodles of places, everyone. Yeah, my Instagram is Amanda S. Benson. My styling Instagram is AV Styled Me. And my little boutique is Sourced by AB. There's a link in my bio for you to buy roots if you're interested. And I'm working on the second book. So,
oh shit, nice.
Yeah, I actually wrote them like at the same time, kind of. So there's like 180 pages of just like another book, but it hasn't been untouched.
Okay.
It is just like there.
All right. More on the way.
More on the way. Always more on the way.
Good for you. Damn. So you're still playing pro?
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that. All these different hats.
Of course I leave out volleyball.
Yeah, I was like, that's
fine, but it's a little undecided about AU is now moving to the fall season. So there will be something in the spring, kind of like an exhibition. Don't know if I'm participating in that yet. Not really sure. It's a little bit early. But for sure in the fall.
Oh, nice. Okay. So if we can watch that, is there any place to watch it?
Yeah, a little break. But volleyball it'll be there soon. So at that point, you can watch me at AU.
Oh, nice. Right. Is it streaming on anything?
Yeah, they're on Volley Sports and sometimes Fox.
Fox. Oh shit, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I heard something about them working with with ESPN. So we'll see. But we are on TV. You can catch us, and you don't have to pay for it.
There we go. I already pay for it, but
if it's free, it's for me.
Yeah.
All right.
Typically, it's not. Typically, it's not for free when it comes to us.
Yeah, with volleyball.
But it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you both for having me.
Of course.